Feel free to eat on the podcast if you want.
Thank you.
And move the mic so however you can pull it and stretch it. You don't have to lean into it. Yeah, whatever is comfortable.
This is great. Beautiful house, by the way, Bert.
Thank you very much. You were out front and you were lost.
I was looking around and then I just heard, damn.
How much coke do you think you've done in your life?
Well, I don't know the answer to that. I would not say a ton. I've had a coke problem, but I would not say a ton because I didn't have the money to afford a true coke problem in the sense that piles of shit. I will say 4 months ago, I relapsed after 2.5 years of sobriety. Yeah, I don't think I've talked about this on a podcast yet, so...
Shit.
Fuck it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I'd been 2.5 years sober. I was having debilitating panic attacks at work, not being able to breathe.
I know that.
So the doctor prescribed me Klonopin. And that was a bad move for
Anti-seizure medicine, but it is technically like Xanax.
It's technically Xanax. It's more powerful than Xanax. So
really?
Yeah, way more powerful. At least it was for me. I mean, everybody's body is different, but I was like, as soon as I took it, I was like, shit, old Dan's back, you know?
Really?
So it was like, I was like driving through this, it was like, it felt very like, I gotta have a Bud Light. That's how it always starts, right?
Yeah.
So then, I have like the first day I just do the Xanax. I remember I went to see like a national concert. I don't remember any of it. It was fun, but I don't remember a lot of it.
Didn't drink or anything?
No, this is the Klonopin.
Just a Klonopin.
No, nothing.
Yeah.
So then that Friday, I did a show at a comic book store. Oh, that Friday I had gotten painkillers because I was like, my back's kind of killing me, which it wasn't. But.
Yeah.
So I popped the painkillers with the Klonopin. And then I was at the comedy show. I had a pretty good set. And then I went next door and I went to an Italian deli and I just got a Bud Light there. And then I was like, this is fucking on.
Yeah. What's that feeling like? Like I've never quit drinking. Well, I mean, I take that back. I've quit drinking for like a month at a time, a couple months at a time. But I've never said I was going to be sober. Like I've never like committed to sobriety. Is there is that when you said that old Dan is back? That's an interesting feeling.
Yeah, it's fun. In the beginning, it's a lot of fun. And look, man, I'm one of these guys that, if you can Hunter S. Thompson it, or you can, you can be a functional whatever, I don't give a fuck. I don't look down on you. That's not my fucking job. For me, it doesn't work. Then that next Saturday, I had gotten a number and I got an 8-ball Coke, and I think I had to take an Uber to Playa del Rey to get it.
Really?
Yeah, because I didn't want to drive because I was already fucking drunk in the morning,
Oh, you got drunk in the morning?
Yeah.
Oh, so wait. Okay, hold on. Let's slow roll this.
Okay.
By the way, this is like porn for me. Like I used to want to do a show called Falling Off the Wagon with people.
Yeah.
And I wanted like Ben Affleck, Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
I wanted like
there's a couple steps down, but yeah.
But like I wanted like because I had a guy one time at a show on my first TV show come up to me and he was like, I've been watching you in the edit bay for a year and a half now, and I just want to tell you, all I wanted to do is take a shot with you. And I was like, really? He goes, yeah, you're one of the funnest guys. I was like, well, let's do a shot. So we both got a shot of tequila, tapped it, shot it, and he goes, that's my first drink in 6 years. And I went, oh, fuck. And so I was like, wow. And then he got fired a week later. He really fucking went off the butt. Yeah. I said, hey, whatever happened to that guy? They're like, they had to let him go. He was doing coke at work. And
oh my God.
So you have the beer at the Italian restaurant.
Mm-hmm. Beer at the Italian restaurant. I get home and as soon as that happens, it's like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Get a bunch of booze.
Live by yourself?
Myself.
Telling anybody? No.
I'm drinking all the fucking time. I'm telling all the people I'm trying to hit up for coke. Can't get anything. I said, all right, well, the best place for me to get drugs out of nowhere that night is I'll go to this club Tentative Trees, which is in like Echo Park, Los Feliz. I go in there, I'm like stumbling around, like trying to find, and then I stumble in, and who's in there but my manager out of nowhere just having a drink. So I like run out. At this point I drink so much I just stumble out and I just start puking in front of fucking Tentative Trees. I jump in an Uber back. I pass out. I wake up the next day. I start drinking, and the whole time I was fucking shitty, man. I was like texting people that week, and reaching out to people I probably shouldn't have reached out to, and then ghosted them completely. You know what I mean? And loved ones and shit like that, and totally ghosted them. And people who really cared about me. And I still feel really bad about that. But that day, I got up. I started drinking like crazy. I took a Playa del Rey.
There's a little part of that that's romantic because you've been sober your whole time in LA,
years.
Right?
Yeah. No, when I was in LA, I mean, I've talked about this in part, but I'll talk again. The last time I drank, I was in Koreatown looking for coke. Like, I was flagging cars down with my fucking hands looking for cocaine. And then I got beat up on the street by two cholos at a 7-Eleven on the corner. Yeah. So I hadn't drank since that point.
Okay.
So this was the first time since then. So that day, I take the Uber to Playa del Rey. I remember I stopped at Taco Bell. I got a quesarito. Then I went to Playa del Rey. This guy, and he was like the most relaxed coke dealer I've ever met, but he was around there. It was either Marina del Rey, Playa del Rey, I forget. So he gives me his 8-ball. I do a little bit there at the place. I take the Uber back. I start doing it at my house. I remember I was just doing blow. I actually invited one friend over, and I'm like, look, I'm not on blow, but if you just want to drink, I'm nervous to be alone or some bullshit. I just wanted somebody to drink with.
Yeah.
We started drinking. Then he left. I'm like, I think it's hooker time. I call up for an escort. She comes over. We start fucking go. We're having like fucking fucked up.
Was she hot?
What?
Was she hot?
Sure, yeah. She was good.
Really?
She was real.
What color hair?
She was like half Asian, half Cuban,
Ooh.
But I mean, my dick was worthless, and it's not like she was fucking attracted to me, like she was there to do a job. I don't think that I was her type. I think I was an easy night for her because you don't really have to fuck. And I'm not going to beat the shit out of her. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not like a threat. I'm not a serial killer.
Worst case scenario, she has to read like a script you're working on.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, can you actually just hit me? I really don't want to see your reimagining of the Honeymooners. So I start fucking her. We start fucking around, and I'm like, oh, we should do Molly. And she's like, oh yeah, I got some back at my place. And I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, let's do that. And I'm like, how much is it for a night with you? So I go from spending $900 to $2,500. I go with her back to her place. We start hooking up and whatever. And again, it's like, I can hardly get it up, man. And I'm going, and it's like, and this is the funniest part is like, I didn't pay her in cash. Instead, I just used my PayPal to donate to her catering company. She's like, that's what she's trying to get it off the ground or whatever.
Shut up.
Then she's like, hey, there's a bunch of, I'm like, oh, I'm at a Molly, but I have coke in the bathroom. So I'm like, oh, cool. So I start like doing a bunch of lines in her bathroom, doing a bunch of coke. And she had this tiny dog too. So I'm trying to like not fall on this fucking tiny dog. Of course
she does.
We go back, we start, at this point, I literally like, us hooking up is like me just like rubbing her stomach with my hand, I can't fucking do shit, So I come back. The next morning I wake up, I realize like, oh shit, I got more coke on my place. I forgot about that. So I start doing that at my place the next day. So basically it's like a 24-hour, and then my heart starts like getting palpitations. I'm like, fuck, is this OD? Fuck, I gotta go call the hospital before. So I call up the hospital panicking. They said, I'll cover these 911. They send the ERs there. So these EMTs come to my house. They bring me there. Somebody I know, a friend of mine, showed up with his wife, and then they told me, oh, that wasn't coke. You just had meth in your system. So I was just blowing lines of meth. I'd never done meth before in this bathroom.
Oh my God.
Then the next day I drank a couple beers to just kind of like reset, and then I'd been sober since then. It's been like 4 months, but it was I really
so you had a couple beers the next day, and then you were like, I'm done again.
February, 5 months it's been.
You just like a couple beers, and then you know what? I'm back.
Went to meetings every day, and really took care of my shit. I got a different anxiety medication prescribed.
What'd you get?
I got this thing called gabapentin, which is non-narcotic. Yeah. I'm off that now too, because it just made me too tired.
Yeah.
But it was all because of this Klonopin. Like, I had no intention to get fucked up. and I did because of that benzo. So
benzos are fucking dangerous.
Kind of nuts that it went. I kind of went 0 to 60 on that, but. No, glad I'm not dead. And it's almost weird now because 5 months from now, I thought that I was, at that point I was really low. I was like, I don't want to be in fucking comedy. This is crazy.
Oh, I feel like that right now.
5 months later, it's like I'm with I'm in an amazing relationship out of nowhere, with somebody that I dated briefly, but now it's a real. I'm moving in with her in New York. I got a new job.
You're going to New York?
Yeah, I'm moving to work on Michelle Wolf's show.
Oh.
So it's like everything. Like my life is completely different. And it's almost like it got really good real quick. I moved back with all my family and friends out there in the New York stand-up scene, which I of course love. And it's kind of crazy that it's I went from that to this in this amount of time.
That in 5 months it's
just turned around completely.
But the thing that is interesting about a relapse is that you had a love. It was an accident, and you had a love of sobriety. I remember one time running into you at the store, and I was like, or something about we should get a cocktail, and you're like, I don't drink, but you didn't say it in like some people say that to me. And they apologize for it.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I don't drink, man. But you said it like, oh, I don't drink. And it was very nonchalant. Like Nikki Glazer says it a little bit like that. Yeah, I don't drink anymore. Yeah. And you're like, oh, I guess you're happy. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I always say if I could stop at 10, I would,
Yeah. Well, your stories of drinking are always ones where I go, oh, I can see how that would not be fun.
Yeah. I feel like, your drinking stories are like the big blockbuster. Everybody goes home and feels great about it. Yeah. I'm like the sad documentary about Chernobyl. You know what I mean? Like it's a very different feeling. It's never fun. It's always me eating processed cheese and crying or shitting myself.
I think my lows are. I have them too, but my lows are a little bit more. Like last night, I did a event for Live Nation, and then
awesome.
And they had cocktails, and I got a cocktail on stage. I only had to do I didn't have to do much time. I did, but I take that back. But I was working, so I wasn't drinking. But I had a cocktail, and then someone brought me a cocktail.
Yeah,
and I had another one, and then we all sat backstage and talked business for like 2 hours. Didn't drink, so we're all talking, no one else is drinking. I came home, and this is where, if I have a problem, this is where my problem lies, is that I've had 2 drinks, and part of me says, I should just go to bed. And then I'm like, I'm really fucking hungry. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna have a glass of wine. Yeah. And so then I had a glass of wine when I didn't need to have a glass of wine, but there was no turning that off. I wasn't like... I actually thought about this and I was like, is this addiction? Because I was like, I want a glass of wine before I go to bed. So I poured a glass of wine, watched Man vs. Food, the new one.
Yeah.
And then I felt buzzed and I was like, all right, I got a buzz. I'm going to bed. I didn't stay up all night drinking. I didn't smoke weed because I'm trying to get my lungs healthy. Had I not been running the marathon on Sunday, I probably would have had a cigar and sat in the backyard and had a drink.
Right.
But
that's awesome.
But like that's where I say to myself sometimes, like I came home no buzz whatsoever, and I went, but I do kind of want a glass of wine before bedtime, and I had one at like 11:30 at night, and so that is where I compartmentalize, where I go, because I literally thought, sounds silly, but I thought, would Bill Burr want another drink, or would he just go to bed? Because I know Bill does not have a drinking problem, I know he doesn't, and I go, would Bill have a drink? I go, maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. Like, how do I find out where that is? But man, when I hear your stories, I go, oh, waking up in the back of a trunk. And you're like, sorry. And they're like, for what? That was what I think I heard you tell that at the store.
Yeah.
Before you told it on.
This is not happening. I think I was auditioning. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And look, I wish that I could do it at times, I'll always have a soft spot for being a scumbag,
But that's an interesting part of you, is that I got that too. I've never got a hooker, but I've got that that deviant part where your brain starts going, oh, we're going. Like for me, the worst I ever got was like in Miami one time. Yeah, I'm fucking wasted, and I'm like, I'm gonna go get a sex toy. And I went into some sex toy place, and I was like, because everyone was talking about fleshlights at the time. I was like, I'm fucking a fleshlight. And so I walked in, and I was like, you got a fleshlight? And the guy's like, no, but I got fucking a can. And I go, I'll take it.
Fucking a can?
Yeah, it was a can of Sapporo with when I get it home, it's lips. It's not even a vagina. It's and it looks like dude's lips. Like, oh, dude, don't do it. Don't do it, man. Come on, please. So I fucked the shit out of that all weekend. But that's my.
It sounded like the worst game of Pac-Man I've ever
heard. So wait, did you start doing stand-up in New York?
I did. Yeah, I started. I guess September. I started doing 11 and a half years or something like that.
Wow, how old are you?
33 and 34 in May.
God, you're young as shit. Everyone's so fucking young these days.
How old are you?
45.
You're great, man.
Yeah, I know. I'm 45, but you know, I think I noticed that like people's careers seemed in this business, the way it's shifted, seemed to take off at 37. If you've been doing it 15 years, roughly, if you can stick around till 37, that's when you get a real opportunity. And for me, you know, and I think I'm in a different side of the business. I'm definitely in a different side of the business than you are, in that I would host reality shows. Yeah. Or like, not reality show, but I did reality shows. I did hosted reality. I'd host shows. And for me, I thought my takeoff was Travel Channel. I got that at 37. And I wonder sometimes, had I not done that, where I'd be. Like, had I not done that, what would have happened to me? Like, I think about sliding doors all the time. Like, had I not done this, where would I be?
Yeah, but I don't know. I think that was probably true in like the 70s, 80s, or 90s. But it's, you know, we live in a time now where not one thing makes you. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, probably you would have been in a similar situation, but you would have a couple different type of credits. You know, like if we want to look at mega stars, there's been Kevin Hart, Amy Schumer.
See, Kevin,
is that it?
So
I mean, like,
Kevin and Amy are probably the biggest.
Melissa McCarthy, maybe, but she's on more the acting side.
I think when you say comics, Kevin and Amy are the two biggest ones. But Amy, I mean, I don't mean to talk negative, because I do like Amy. I'm friends with Amy, but I would not want to be in the spot she's in, because she's almost like polarized people. Now, when she does something,
I don't think you ever want to get. I think actually the level of career that you want to get is to you. Probably.
I'm pretty cool.
You know what I mean? Where it's like you have a fucking thing, you have a fan base, but you don't have a target on your back either. Oh. And that's a pretty good situation. You can really even like once you get up to the Bert thing, you have a little bit more of a target, you know. Yeah. But like even Bill is probably the highest, or Patton Oswalt. You almost don't want to get to that next level. I don't and then know have fucking 7 blogs written about how your special is transphobic or, you know, racist, or, you know, like, you know, so it's kind of like you almost want to live like right underneath the point where you're not pissing everybody off.
It is a weird, you know, I remember hearing there was a manager named Jason Steinberg. Do you know who he is?
Oh, I've heard of that guy. I think he kind of did less when I was starting, you know.
Yeah,
but
he was really active when I started. Dude. And he would say, these guys are so self-defeating. Like, he taught mostly black comics. They're so self-defeating. Mm-hmm. And he'd say, like, they set themselves up and they fail on purpose. He was talking about Patrice, and like, Patrice is the one example I can use because he's dead. But he's like, he defeats himself. And I watched Patrice do it. I watched him do it at a Showtime special. Showtime special, everyone's doing 30 minutes. It's him, Gary Goldman, a bunch of other people. I forget. I wish I remember who else was in it. Charlie Vericola. And Patrice did material that was not stuff that was good. It was like, I like to put my finger in a bitch's ass. And you're like, why are you doing this? You're so funny. This is so below you. Yeah. But I watched him do 30 minutes of just putting a thumb in a girl's ass. And then a couple good jokes. But for the most part, I watched him drive it into the ground. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with that? Then I realized, it's that I got a really nice living going on. I got a nice thing going on. I don't want to stick my head out of the weeds too much, because then duck hunt happens and they start shooting at you. Yeah, I mean, but then even as I'm saying that, we're talking about that, I'm like, but there is that thing too. It's like, you know, sometimes you're only going up and down too. So you wonder like, how hard is it to just stay at that same, you know, like I'm a known thing without being the thing.
that's got to be hard too.
And then you watch people, like, do you find it gross when you see people kind of strive to achieve and almost be like work the business and be a marketer and be a yes, like do you know what I'm talking about? Like, because you don't have that vibe. You come off with the same energy as like I would say me, Big J, Ari, like all the guys that are great comics, love the business, love the stage time, love entertaining, but you're not like texting famous people going like, does it? Am I making sense of this question?
Well, no, thank you. I really appreciate that. I think like when I was like, when I started doing new faces and shit like that, and I had a little bit of that in me for sure. Like I think, if I want to be brutally honest, but I don't know, man. The last 2 years, I've really bounced from writing room to writing room, and I've been really happy when I've gotten to do stand up. So I've kind of been the guy, one of the guys behind the guy, rather than and I'm doing that with my next job too. I did that with Nikki. I did that with Germain. I'm doing this where it's like I'm one of a team of people that are helping, like this amazing talent go. So it's like because of that, you almost naturally kind of get more humility because you're not that guy anymore, but you also are expected to fucking do your job. So it's a little bit of that's I think that's helped as far as me being. People wanting to actually see me and the amount of people wanting to see me say good, so that's been good. But I don't know, man. I also get it too. I get it when fucking people have to do all that shit, and
I still am bad with it. Like I get it when I go into the green room at the store,
right? Or
I'm in the hallway of the store and you watch someone box you out to get to the famous person.
Oh, really?
Oh, it bothers me because I'm not that guy.
Right, like, you're not that guy.
I'd much rather, like, if say, let's say, I'm trying to think of someone famous. Like, say Chris Rock's in the hallway.
Yeah,
I'm not stopping to try to talk to him. I have no interest in stopping to talk to him or Chappelle.
Right,
if they approach me to talk to me, I'll definitely have a conversation with them. I'm not trying to be a dick, but I'm not. I have no. Like Tosh was at the store one night and everyone's like trying to jockey up to Tosh, and you can see it happen in our business, and the people that do it, like that are like, "What's up, Daniel? How you doing, man? I worked with you." And,
right.
And then I just got out of the way and I went over and stood in the hallway at the OR, like where in the stairs.
Well, I've never been a hangout guy, man. I've never really, I like doing my job and fucking leaving, and also when you're not getting fucked up. Forget the only time that I would hang out is like if like somebody had come to see me, or maybe there's like some chick who like said, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now that I'm like I've got a gig, I'm probably not going to be doing as much stand up or whatever. And I got a lady. It's like this is like when I usually am like, what time am I getting on stage?
Yes.
And when am I leaving? And I can. Text a couple of my friends and we can have like a restaurant, meeting after. But I also know that like a lot of my jobs I have gotten because I've stayed around and said hi to people,
Yeah.
And
how did you get in? How did you get into writing? Because I think that's the thing that I definitely, there was a period right before I started doing television full time. Mm-hmm. I wrote a packet for David Spade's Showtime show.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And I gave it to Hugh Fink, and they got to Hugh Fink, and he said, "This is one of the best packets we've gotten." And my agent said that, and I said, "Well, then why am I not getting hired?" And he goes, "You're not a writer. Like we have writers. We have clients that are writers that they need this to work. You're not a writer." So like,
so they just kind of fucked you.
Yeah, and I was like, "Wait, what do you mean I'm not a writer?" Like I wanted to write because I think it's one of the coolest ways. And I'm curious to know your take on it, but the coolest way is to expand your sense of humor, to really learn how to write jokes quicker, to become more economical with words. It really is like going to the fucking Colorado Springs and training for a year.
Right.
Am I right?
I mean,
or am I fantasizing
no,
about this?
I mean, it's a job, man. I mean, it does, it does feel, I miss stand up a lot, but I will get the month of December that I had, right? I kind of had I was going through my own shit with the not doing as much stand up and like trying to just stick to AA meetings and shit or whatever. But then I started doing stand up in LA, and then I went to New York, and I was like, oh, this is incredible doing spots there. Did then the worst weekend of my life at this place called Joker's Live in Washington in Richland. Horrendous.
Washington State?
Yeah, terribly run club, terrible audiences. I was terrible. It was a real trifecta of fucking ruin. And then the next day, and then the next week, I went back to work, and work was fine. And then I recorded my album at Comedy on State in Madison. And that was like amazing. Comedy on State in Madison is incredible. So that's stand-up. It's like the worst feeling you've ever had, and then the best feeling you've ever had. And a writing job is like, oh, I either had a good or a bad day at work. And that's kind of what it feels like. As far as like creatively, I think it does help. I do think that like I'm getting burnt out now. Like it's hard for me. Like I start a new job next week. I'm not going to do stand up next week, and I'm moving this week, so I had to cancel my shows in LA because I'm like getting all my shit together and fucking getting ready for the move and ending one. So it's like the problem is that I don't have as much creative real estate for stand up as I used to. And the last 3 months, I've only done 3 shows because I record my album like I'm gonna fucking detox.
Detox is important.
Yeah, it's important, but that's the only problem for me is that with writing and stand-up is that, I think when you get done with a writing job, you write great stand-up and you can come up with a bunch of stuff. But while you're doing it at the same time, and I've talked to a lot of really good writer stand-ups like Joe Mandy about it and people like that, and it's the same thing. It's just your head you can only like output so much shit, you know?
The thing I thought about Joe Mandy, and I don't know Joe personally, but I did we published books under the same umbrella, and I got his book Something Hipster, and it was really fucking brilliant.
Yeah, he's really funny.
One of the things I think about a guy like Joe Mandy is I wonder what his stand-up would be like if none of his ideas got given to anyone else. If he got all his ideas,
you never know though. Like
because he's funny as shit.
Yeah, I think he's a really good stand-up.
All I can see is bigger potential because so many people get some of his best ideas. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, like he's one of the guys who's like, shaping the Good Place. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. So I don't know. I mean, everyone's differently. Like sometimes you need a comic where you do. And I think Joe's a great stand-up, but like you need a comic who does 5 things so they can all do well, and then you need people who just I don't think anybody any logical person can say that the person who has the best career in show business is Dave Chappelle. He just does stand-ups. He makes $20 million from each fucking special, and he's his own boss all fucking year.
I'd be cool. I'd be cool with like $1 million for a special. I'd be really cool with that. That's a lot.
Oh man, I'll take Monique money. Like, goddamn, pal, I'll do whatever. And fucking like I forget, it was $1,500 or $2,000 for that weekend in Washington. It was brutal. So I'll take whatever.
Yeah, it's. I think Chappelle does have. He's just got one focus, and it's just stand up. And I think that's cool. And I think it's what puts him. It's what puts him at the top of the book, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have writers. That's the other thing. I'm not a big fan of these guys who go out with a team of writers to do stand-up, and then you see their material and you're like, then you're like, oh, that was good. And then you're with someone and it's like, oh, I wrote that. And you're like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, when he takes us on the road, we all sit in the back, we write his jokes. And you're like, so he's basically doing karaoke then? Like, his stand-up for me is me. On a show, it's different. If you have a group of writers on a show, you need that. But when it comes to stand-up, that's my singular vision.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, like, I'll have people give me tags and stuff like that.
I'll take a tag. I took 2 tags. I took one from Mark Norman and one from...
Mark's great, yeah.
One from Shane Torres for my last special.
Oh, yeah, Shane's great, too.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'd say that I wouldn't want that, and then if I starred in a big fucking movie and they asked me to do 4 things, and then Netflix is also giving me like, hey, you have to do it. $2 million, I'll be like, well, some writers are getting paid, You
have to do it, I guess.
Some writers are getting paid. I mean, I have friends of mine too who are writing for bigger people, and You know, another way I look at it too is that I'm giving a fucking comedy writer a job. You know, that would be another. You're giving a comedy writer a job, and some of these guys who can write great stand up are you know, they go on stage and whatever. People look at their face and they're like, I don't want to see this guy for the next fucking 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I also, it's like, everyone's like, I used to be like, yeah, pure stand-up, but now I'm like, we all die with fucking nothing. Do you know what I mean? Who gives a shit? Like, I don't think you should rip anybody off and steal anyone's livelihood.
Yeah.
You know, that's wrong. But if you're going to pay a guy to write your fucking, you know, act, you know, God bless you, man. You know?
I'm probably at the level where I can't afford to hire a group of writers.
You're right below.
Yeah. And so then when you look at like you
could hire one guy that will gradually resent you for the next 2 years. You could do that. You could do that level.
Where you're like, wow, he took all my good lines.
You could have like a Seth Rogen, Adam Sandler relationship. And
so is your chick moving to New York with you?
She lives there. We were going to do long distance. But she's in casting, and you know, it was going to be one of those things long distance, and then the Michelle job came up, so it worked out fucking great, you know.
Michelle's special did really well.
Oh my God, it was great.
I didn't see it. I saw a clip. I saw a clip.
Like fucking. It's like late '90s Chris Rock as far as just like hit.
She is. I saw one clip. First of all, and I know this doesn't matter.
Yeah,
she looks beautiful in it.
Right.
Like I like what she wore. That does matter. But to say it matters for a guy. Like I'd say to a guy, what the fuck?
Oh, it matters for a guy too. It matters for everybody.
But when you say it about a woman, sometimes that compartmentalizes it into something else, and that's not what I mean.
Yeah.
But like she looked great, and you know the problem women have is that at like 7 years, if they're any good, they blow up to stars, and they haven't really developed their voice.
Yeah.
And she seemed like, from what I've seen on her on Conan, and from what the little bit I saw of her special. It looked like she had grown a great deal. Well, which you don't get in women a lot.
She works her. I don't know. I don't know about that.
You do not get it in women. Ari and I were talking about this. And this is why I say that. When you're as a woman, if you're like, well, I'll use Amy as a perfect example. She's a 7-year comic, and she becomes the biggest comic in the world. Right? No one at 7 years knows who the fuck their voice is. I've been doing it 20 years. I'm still kind of confused. Okay? Look at Bill Burr. He didn't really find his voice until like, what, 15 years? 17 years? Like, that's when if you had ever seen Bill,
but isn't that guy comics too at 7 years?
Oh, yeah, no.
It's not really a gender thing.
No. It's gender because of this. And by the way, this is more of a group conversation I've been having. But as a guy at 7 years, as a white guy, you're at 7 years. If you're really good, they're like, cool, keep working at it. And then you get to 10 years, and they're like, great, we'll get you on the road. And then maybe at 15 years, they're like, or 12 years, you can do a special. 15 years, your second special. All right, you've been doing it 20 years, you're doing your third special. At 20 years doing your third special, you are dialed into this business. You know what you sound like on stage. You know comedy. Women, if you're good at 7 years, you sometimes leapfrog very quickly to like the next level. Like Amy at 7 years, 10 years. Eliza was doing it 1 year, one last comic standing. Okay, it's a perfect example. 1 year, she's the one. Now she's headlining everywhere. She's been doing it 1 year. That doesn't happen with a guy that fan, and then he just disappears. Everyone's like, fuck that guy. But with a woman, there's such a lack of really talented, great, domineering, awesome fucking female stand-ups. Almost as they get older, they disappear. The society stops wanting to hear from them, so that they look for this young thing.
Well, I mean, I do think that like,
and so my point in saying this is that they aren't allowed a natural maturation the way Bill Burr was allowed a natural maturation, or Kevin Hart, or Dave Chappelle, or they weren't allowed like a hey, you can also just keep failing hard as fuck in the clubs and really taking chances. Now you're Amy, and you're the biggest comic in the world.
But there's exceptions to that too. Like Tig is one of those people who is like a slow build.
You're right. You're totally
person,
right.
And
there are exceptions to that. You're right. And there are,
and I do think as society in general, this is fucked up, that like, you know, like the society values youthful women more than older women, and it's, you know, like if fucking, you know, look, if society was fair, you know, Kathleen Madigan would be as big of a deal as like Bill Burr. You know what I mean?
I agree 100%.
And I think a lot of the times, you know, there is. I will agree with you on the fact that like there is there is an element that like, you know, for whatever reason, people don't want to hear from
Wanda Sykes
as much, and that's crazy. It is
bizarre.
That's very bizarre.
That they'd rather take a young version of what that looks like.
Or even like here's a big example: Jessica fucking Kirson in New York.
She is a fucking murderer.
Should be packing arenas, but
she is phenomenal. You can I had to follow her one night, and I hadn't seen a bunch of her.
She can fucking ruin a room. Like, I mean, in a good way, like destroy a room. And then you get up and you're like, fuck. Like she's working on a couple different levels, you know. But I will say that almost every guy who's 7 years in, I don't think it's a woman or a guy thing. I think it's, if you're 7 years in and you get a lot of shit, it's hard
to follow
afterwards.
But I think
in a year, the same shit.
And I think my point in trying to say this very convoluted, weird hashtag, I'm not supporting Me Too comment.
Hashtag Dan St. Germain covering his ass because he's about to go to
no, hashtag Bert's is a feminist or misogynist. But I feel like as you don't get a lot of women leapfrog at 7 years, and I think anyone at 7 years doesn't know their voice entirely. You're still doing. It's why Amy got caught in that shit. Going, they're like, these are her jokes she's telling about racist jokes and this, and she's like, guys, part of her wanted. All of us, I think, wanted to stand up for her and go, guys, she is not Dave Chappelle. She's just Amy Schumer. She's just a regular comic at 10 years trying to figure out her voice. And a lot of times at 10 years, you're still doing shit that was working at 5 years. And you're not fully developed. You're not a journeyman comic yet.
Look, I think people forget, like, this shit is fucking hard.
It's hard as shit.
Like, like after Madison, I scraped together this album, put it together, and I'm really happy with the album, and I'm excited when it comes out.
When does it come out?
It's coming out in May, around May 12th on an 800-pound gorilla. It's going to be called No Real Winners Here. But, you know, like one of those things where then I had only gotten up. I got up like I've gotten up maybe 3 times. I've got up like once in fucking January after the album. I did the album first week in January. I did nothing in February, and then this month I've done 3 spots this whole month. So I've gotten up 4 times since this album in 2 months, and my new stuff eats fucking dick. I can't even say it right because I haven't been putting the time into getting up all the time, you know, and I've been writing on so many other things and getting my fucking life together. It sucks. I called up Sean Donnelly. He's a funny New York comic.
Sean Donnelly's absolutely fucking hilarious.
He's great, really my best friend in comedy. And I was like, this shit's fucking hard. It never ends. You don't have like a point where it just flips and you're like, you know, it's not like the Jedi in Star Wars where you flip and you're like, oh my, no, now I learn to move things with the mind trick. You know, it is a fucking slog that is the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah, and it never. You're right. It never gets easier, and there are times where you're like, I just did my hour, and now I'm gonna have to write a new one, and I'm like, oh fuck.
You do it for Netflix or Showtime? Oh, sweet, man.
And then there's also this like morning of like, you know, you work so hard with a goal in mind. You know, like where you're like, I want to do an hour. I want to do it for Netflix. Mm-hmm. I want these things, and then you get all those things, and then you do that thing. You accomplish the goal you set out, and then all of a sudden you're on the other side of the fence going like, I literally was said today, I want to sail a boat from here to Hawaii. Because now I'm like, what else is there? Like, I don't know if I want to do another Netflix special. Like, I don't know.
You know who's got the coolest career ever is fucking John Ridley. He went from fucking, you know, writing Undercover Brother and being
John
a late
Ridley?
night host of the Ritz to winning an Oscar for writing 12 Years a Slave.
Wait, who's John Ridley?
He's the guy who wrote 12 Years a Slave, and he did that show American Crime, and then before that he was a comic at the fucking comic strip, you know, like, and wrote goddamn Undercover Brother.
Really?
So it's like, you get like, he's one of the, you know, I think like a big part of like why we're in this business, you know, I mean, is that we're bored people. We get really bored, you know, and we want to do new shit all the time and change things up. So you want to go to Hawaii makes perfect fucking sense.
Okay, yeah, I feel like I want a challenge. I want something tangible. Like even that special, it'll come out. But it's like, I don't know. I feel very empty right now. You know, like I feel like, and I can't write a new joke. I've only written like two new jokes, and they're just jokes.
Go on a trip, man. Ari, that's one of the great things about Ari is that he just gets off the fucking map, right?
Yeah,
you know,
he's definitely inspirational. I told him, he was like, well, maybe we'll just ride motorcycles from the top of Vietnam down to the bottom. Maybe we'll where do you want to, let's climb Mount Kilimanjaro. And then you're like, but I'm also a parent, and I have that.
You're like, how about I just go to Van Nuys, but like I hike.
That's why I'm doing the marathon on Sunday. So I'm looking for something tangible to challenge myself with. That's just me. Where you're like, can I train? Can I do a marathon without training for it? Like, we'll see.
Isn't it a challenge with the kids though? I mean, that's got to be a lot of work.
Oh, yeah, yeah. They're kids. I mean, if we're gonna talk honestly, I think I really fucked up as a parent.
Really?
Yeah. Like, and I know that I'm being hard on myself. There are a lot of people that are listening that are like, no. Everyone has jobs. Like, right? So, but I feel like I was gone so much, working on the road, doing Travel Channel, working, paying.
And how old are they now, your kids?
11 and 13. They're in it. I can feel them leaving the nest. Like, I can feel them stretching their wings.
Are they starting to do that thing of like, oh shit, dad's not perfect?
Oh, they've done that a long time ago. they haven't called me dad in like 7 years.
They call you Bert?
I guarantee you, if my daughter comes in right now, which she just got back from a camping trip, she would call me. They call me Bertangulus boy, booby. They call me bruh. They stopped calling me dad a long time ago. But like perfect example. I did this last hour, and I talked about my kids. So now I look at them and I go, none of this is material. I need to find a new thing. I got to find does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to write just jokes. I want to write something bigger than that. I want to write.
Well, your kids turning like going into high school is a whole different fucking thing than, you know.
We just dropped.
Especially you have a daughter, like there's all that fucking shit with that. You know?
We just dropped $32,000 to get their teeth right.
Oh my god,
dude, teeth are fucking expensive, and my kids have really, really like next level bad teeth. Like I have bad teeth. You look like you got like jungle teeth, like teeth that could bite through wood. Like I got stuck with settler's teeth.
Settler's teeth.
Like I was like, oh, can you bite that wood for me and then hand it to me? Thank you, savage. What is imperialism?
I got Robin Crusoe teeth.
Do you travel at all?
I mean, not as much lately, you know, because I've been went to Ojai a couple weekends ago.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was really fun. But
it's not burned to the ground?
No, Ojai is okay. Everything around Ojai is kind of fucked right now.
Really? Did you go with your chick?
Well, that's a real chick trip.
Yeah.
Ojai isn't a bunch of bros. Yeah, we bought some. It was one of the. Well, this is what I love about my chick is she's like, we went to one of those like like rustic vans and she's a Long Island girl, and like.
Are you Long Island?
No, I'm New York, but my best friend's from Long Island. My chick is from Long Island, so I have like I'm close to Long Island people. But I went into like this like little trailer thing where all the fucking where they were selling all this shit, and it was like, it was what's the goddamn stone? That's it was like turquoise jewelry everywhere, and it said like $80 for one. And I'm like, baby, I'm gonna borrow, and she goes, it's fucking bullshit. It's $25 on Etsy. Like she does like the real girly thing, and then all of a sudden becomes fucking Dennis Farina out of nowhere. So. Like,
oh, that's great.
Yeah, so like luckily I didn't have to fucking go out of lose my mortgage because of buying that. But yeah, that whole place, there's just all of Ojai is like couples traps. Like, oh, you're here with your chick? Yeah, you're gonna pay here's $25 for a hand towel. It's stuff that like they know they can get away with because everybody's like kind of breezily walking through stuff, and it's a bunch of traps, man. It's like the strip clubs but for relationships,
Yeah, it's Vegas for couples.
Yeah.
Like do you have any hobbies?
I'm a huge. Well, my podcast is a pro wrestling podcast. So like
You're
every other
pro
comic,
wrestling?
Yeah, every other comic is.
How did pro wrestling?
Into it.
So what? Because my age, pro wrestling missed us.
Yeah,
we were into pro wrestling as kids, and then we grew out of it, or something happened to it.
Yeah, with male comics in their early 30s, mid 30s are obsessed with it.
Dude, everyone I know is obsessed with it.
Yeah,
Ron Funches.
Yeah,
Sam Roberts.
Yeah,
I mean, people. like, but why is it that like us 40-year-olds, we were all into it. We were there for the
because it was really I mean, look, wrestling's always fucking cartoony, but like, you know, you guys were there with Hogan and all that
Andre
shit.
the Giant,
Andre the Giant.
Roddy Piper,
you were like around
Cyndi Lauper.
How old were you then? Like probably around like 10 to 13.
Yeah.
That shit was pretty goofy for a while. So once you hit like 14 or 15, you're like, oh no, I want like chicks and like rock and roll. Like for us, like a lot of our masculinity, probably for some negative reasons as well. Like WWE peaked like right when we were getting into tits and shit like that, and boobs and beer, and like that's when they had Stone Cold Steve Austin and Sable, and they were like kind of like really feeding for what, you know, probably like Poison or Pantera was feeding into the generation before that. So I think that they were able to catch stuff, and then as a comic, the lifestyle is just incredibly similar. So I think that's, but yeah, I last year I was like really into meditation. Like I went on a silent retreat. I did all that. I haven't been into it lately. I used to be really into politics. I really could give a shit now. Yeah. You know, like it's one of those things where I just work so fucking much that like I haven't, you know, I'll play video games from time to time. I'll go to the gym and shit. I took like jiu-jitsu for like a little bit. I'll start stuff and I'll get into it and I'll be like, oh, like UFC, I'll get into that, and then I'll just stop. Or like, you know, I have so many books that I've just started, and then I'll just like, you know, I'll stop. I you know, even this year I've only started 2, and then kind of like been so busy with work, I've kind of, you know, and I don't know, I'll go to a couple museums, but truth is I work really hard and I get really tired. So a lot of the times it's like fucking movies or TV, you know, like it's a lot of like just sit there, listen to podcasts type of shit.
Yeah. I feel like I talked to are you in therapy?
Yeah. I was 2 therapists. The reason that I got out for that relapse was because I was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder, and I didn't know.
Let's talk about this.
Yeah. I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh,
really?
I've got it.
Yeah,
I've got it, but it manifests itself. It shows up in times of stress. Like it's not there all the time. It's always underlying, but in times of stress, it really starts peaking.
Yeah.
So like getting ready for the special, I had to be very cognizant. Like normally what I do is I change everything about my lifestyle a month out. I stop drinking. I stop. And I start obsessing about the set. Mm-hmm. It's not the healthiest thing because it's no longer what I found is that in my specials, sometimes that's a different person performing than who everyone's seen for the entire year. Yeah. So because now it's someone who hasn't had a drink in a month and is my beard is manicured really crazy because I can't stop manicuring my beard. My hair is really tight because I can't stop. Like it's almost like I remember my buddy Cowhead saw my first special and he goes, I go, what did you think? He was like, it was okay. By the way, this is a friend, and you expect he'd just be like, it was great. He was like, it was okay. I go, really? He goes, well, it wasn't you. I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, it was like none of the freedom and the fun of you on stage was on that special. I was like, oh. So for the next special, I was like, all right, I want to make sure that who I am comes out. But still, I did a lot of my OCD stuff leading up.
Yeah.
Where I'm in my head so much, it really is making me unhappy. And then when I got done that special, I had a hard time celebrating because I was like, it was a good special. It was a great special. Did very well for me. But at the time, I was like, I didn't really enjoy it. Like, I didn't have fun. Like, I didn't enjoy the process. I didn't enjoy leading up to it. It was really a burden for me. And so now that it's done, I'm just thankful it's done. So leading up to this special, I went, this is the first time I get to pick everything. Mm-hmm. I'm going to make sure I enjoy it. So I said, for one, I'm going to allow myself to drink that month leading up. I'm going to keep, and I think also one of the big things that helped was we did that Sober October month, and it really helped me compartmentalize being able to be sober and go to sleep sober, especially on the road, which really helps. So I incorporated that in my life. I was skiing every weekend, so I wasn't drinking the night before I was skiing. I wasn't drinking the night after I was skiing. So there's 2 days where I'm not drinking on the road because I'm so tired. And so I said, I'm going to go in. I'm not going to let obsessive compulsiveness overrun me on this special. And I didn't. And it was the best experience I've ever had. And like little things, like for me, I spit on the street, and if it lands on a crack, that means it's good luck.
Yeah.
And So, but what happens in the previous 2 specials is I can't walk on cracked streets because I will be thinking about, and then all of a sudden I'm walking like a crazy person down the center of the fucking street so that I don't see any cracks. So like, but yeah, I tried my best to manage it. How is it coming out in you?
Well, I was diagnosed with, and this is why I got the Klonopin, with persecutorial obsessive compulsive disorder. So I would, just to give you an idea, and I'll give you like an example, like when I was in college, me and my friend got really drunk once, and we like I think we like threw we like threw a it was like a abandoned house. We threw something in the middle of the street, like this door and shit like that. It was a back street or whatever that just drunkenly just threw it on there. And then like 10 years later, I'm like, what if they killed somebody on the road? And then I will then go through Indiana crime reports for 2 hours trying to see on that date at that time whether something could have happened. So that'll be what it will be.
Okay.
So it'll be like stuff like that. It'll be like, well, or let me think about something that happened when I was fucking 7 for the next 3 hours. And then, but now I have written exercise that I do. I went to a special obsessive.
Can you tell me what it is?
Well, what you do is you do the trigger. And then after the trigger, you're saying, okay, what's the worst case scenario that would happen, right? And then, and then after that, okay, what emotions does this bring up? Fear, anxiety, anger, whatever it is. And then the 4th quadrant is, alternative thought. First thought, I have obsessive compulsive disorder, well-researched and meticulously researched disorder that makes the situation keep repeating itself. That's the first thing you say. And then you try to, what if it's a good thing? And then because of that, you temper it, and sometimes you look at well, what's the percentage that this bad thing is true versus the percentage that this good thing is true?
Yeah.
So,
God, I've got that a little bit. I have some things in my closet of when I was partying.
Yeah.
And nights got crazy.
Right.
And you go, and then you and things that my friends.
And by the way, nothing happened with that door thing. It was like a back road, like in the middle of nowhere. Like no one could have drove into it. It was totally.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have fucking done it because I was drunk and just throwing shit around. There's a reason I've been to rehab twice because of it. So I didn't give a shit about anyone but myself. But in that situation, nothing happened.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have it. My friends don't think about it twice, and then I'll have one friend that knows that I still think about stuff, and he'll go, "Hey, you ever think about that thing?" And then you'll go, "Yeah, why?" And I'll be like, I just know you do." And you're like, "Oh my God, like fucking." But my brain gets bad like that. Wait, what do they do they do any research on you when you go to rehab?
No,
I mean not research, but like do they do any therapy stuff where they try to get to the base of stuff?
I have talk therapy. I got a new talk therapist, and then what I was describing there was more of like a cognitive therapy. And then I've also done brain spotting.
What's that?
I've done it's kind of like you focus on different points in a room and then come back. Oh, it should really be for like they do it with a lot of people with PTSD and shit like that.
Okay, I got that. Keep going.
Yeah,
okay, wait,
yeah. So maybe you should try it out.
So what's brain? Okay, try to explain brain spotting to me.
Well, the way that I was doing it, and I'm sure somebody on your podcast is going to tell me I'm doing this wrong because I only did it like a couple times, but it would be like, you kind of you focus on something that you did, focus on something that's bothering you or something, and then you think about it, and you keep thinking about it. It's almost like exposure therapy, and then you'll for relief, you'll look at another point in the room, and then you'll look back to that point. And like moving your eyes back and forth, you actually are kind of applying some sort of relief to the trauma that happened. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It's worth it if you got the cash to spend, but
I don't know. Mine was all through. I talked about this before, but I was backstage in Indiana, I think Indianapolis, and this guy was talking about doing a documentary on PTSD, and I'd always been told by my therapist and by my wife and by other people that I had experienced PTSD from all the dangerous shit I did on Travel Channel, like jumping off buildings, jumping off stadiums, skydiving, swimming with sharks, scuba diving at 90 feet, like all the things that.
What was the scariest one of those, by the way?
I fell off a waterfall. That was probably that's when that's the most intense. That's the most intensity because I fell like 15 feet and I landed on my back, but I could have very easily landed on my head or landed on my neck or landed.
How painful was it?
Oh, I was 210 feet in the bottom of a ravine. I was rappelling, and then I flipped upside down in a waterfall, and I was drowning, and so I couldn't flip myself back up because the water's going and rushing.
Oh, Jesus!
And so I don't know what happened, but I let go of the rope, and I just zoom, and I hit the ground. I hit my back. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move my legs. I could move my legs. I got feeling in my legs, but if I lifted like this, the pain shot up my back, and I was like, okay, I probably broke my spine. I definitely ruptured an internal organ.
Right.
And so what was the worst is
what had happened?
They couldn't get rescue gears to get me out of there because we're in a cavern. So I had to crawl. I had to crawl myself out of a cavern, 210 feet up to the trailhead.
Oh my God.
And by the way, the whole time I'm thinking I'm dying. I'm dying. These are precious minutes. These are the minutes. And I had heard a long time ago. I heard this story of this guy in South Africa who was black in a car with two white guys, and they got in an accident. And the ambulance could take the two white guys, but they couldn't put the black guy in the ambulance. And he had to crawl himself to the closest village. And by the time they got him to the hospital, he was paralyzed. And so had they rescued him, he would have been fine. But by the time he got there, he was paralyzed. And so all I could think was, I'm going to be paralyzed. I'm going to die. And then so then when I got done with that, and that's when panic got really bad for me.
That's terrifying.
Because the next day, I went to my hotel room. I got in bed, and I couldn't get out of bed. And I was in a hotel room, and no one can get in my room. And I'm laying in bed, and I have to go to the bathroom. So I'm laying in bed, and I can't move. And I've got to pee. And I'm like, I'm peeing in this bed. And I just peed in the bed. And I laid my pee. I was crying. And everyone's just waiting for me to show up for call time. And I can't move. I'm stuck in a bed. Jesus and I was fucking Christ. Freaking out. And then someone knocked on my door. And I'm like, I can't move. I can't move. I'm like yelling. So they come. By the way, this is over an hour. Because they go to the front desk. They tell them they need to get into my room. That I'm in there. That I can't. And they don't know why I'm not coming out. They open the door, and by this, I'm a fucking mess. I'm like, I need help getting out of bed. I've gone to the bathroom in the bed. I need to get the fuck out of here. And so then that my buddy Paul was like, this episode's over. We're not gonna try to continue this. Let's get you home. And then a couple things happened after that, and my wife was like, I think you're done. I think you're fucked up. I think something's going on with you. And that's when I realized. And then I'm talking in Indianapolis to this guy, and he was talking about war, and I said something about like when you go off to war and you come back, it's such a release. He was saying like it's such a like you go off and you drive and you don't blow up, and then you come home and you're like. And I had a lot of that from like skydiving or jumping off stadiums or scuba diving. Like my first open water dive was at like 90 feet, which you just don't do, but it's production. They're like, yo, we got to go. We got to go now. I know there's a thunderstorm coming in. I know we're in a steel boat. I know the waves are high as shit, but we got to go right now. There's no fun. I was talking to my director for my special, Todd Bierman, and he was saying, oh, when you go to ... you got to go scuba diving. And I go, I hate scuba diving. And he goes, what? I go, I fucking hate it. I go, it's always such a panicky experience. And he goes, what are you talking about? I was like, well, and I explained my scuba dive experiences. One time, it's in 10-foot seas off the coast of Japan to go see a whale shark at fucking 60 feet. And we sat there for an hour at 60 feet so we could get all the shots. And then other times in Fiji where it's fucking rough seas and I fuck up and I go down to 90 feet where I shouldn't go to 90 feet, screw up the dive for everyone, we all run out of oxygen. Like all my dives have been fucking panic.
Traumatic. Plus there's like sharks everywhere.
Yeah, and he goes, you need to go scuba diving how you want to go.
Yeah.
Like you need to plan a trip and you should do what you want to do.
Yeah, go 15 feet down.
Yeah, that's what I go. They do that, and he goes, yeah, that's what everyone does. They plan the trip they want to do.
Yeah.
And so
it's also like nobody needs to know you're a badass anymore. Just have fun,
dude. I just want to be. I want to be like. I want to have a good time. And so the PTSD thing. I was talking to the guy, and he was like, yeah, man, the showers in the morning were really rough. And I immediately chimed in. Because I knew this feeling. I go, I would sit in the shower and I'd say, why am I cleaning this body? It's just going to be dead later. And he went, that's exactly what I thought. I was like, oh yeah, I would get up in the mornings, jumping off a 580-foot jump. I think it's 585 in New Zealand. I got up in the morning. I got in the shower and I said, "Why am I cleaning this body? It's just going to be dead in 5 hours." And I just started crying, and I was like sitting in the fucking fetal position in the shower, just going, how come I'm out of control of my life? How come I have no control over anything? I want control. I want to be able to pick what I want to do, and I don't want to do this. I want to do stuff I want to do. Like, and it just, it was like I got bit by a bat in Costa Rica, and I just wanted to be safe, but we're in production and they don't have time to take me to a hospital. And hospitals are like, it's going to be like a 2-hour drive through the jungle to get to a hospital. And then I don't get rabies shots.
How bad is a painful bat bite?
Here's the problem. If you don't get rabies shots within 2 days of the bat bite, then you're uncurable. And rabies has a 100% kill rate. Like if you get rabies,
have rabies?
If you get rabies, you die.
Did you have rabies?
I don't think so. Like usually you'll find out within a year. So that PTSD stuff, dude, you're right up my alley with that. Like and so I don't know.
I mean, I don't have as much PTSD, but I will say that brain spotting would be kind of a cool thing for you to do. I think.
How did you?
They do it with a lot of veterans and shit.
How did you get into this self-discovery stuff?
I mean, I think if you get low enough, you gotta like either kind of give up or strive for more. I mean, I've done TM. I did 2 silent retreats. It's just. I got a lot going up on here as far as it doesn't stop. It's just constant.
Does part of you feel like you gotta keep that going to keep being a good comic or a good writer?
No, I don't think so. Because I think a lot of that stuff distracts me from getting really good at it. I think I'm so hard. I do not think that spending 2 hours thinking about whether or not what you just said to your Uber driver is weird makes you a better comic. I would say 100% it doesn't. Like the bigger stuff, like not contemplating death and pain. No, that stuff helps you as a comic. But the little shit like that, I don't think it does really. I think maybe a couple ones of those does, but not like every single one. It really doesn't help. I mean, at least that's what I think.
Did you ever talk with Nikki Glaser about this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we got a podcast too for Not Safe. I co-hosted.
I remember.
That,
I watched some of that.
Yeah, we would talk about some of that shit, but yeah, I mean, me and Nikki are very similar in some ways, so we would talk about a lot of that kind of shit.
She's pretty open about shit.
Yeah,
and I think she's always been that way. I've always had a weird thing with I worked with her on the road once. I have a weird thing. I just talked about this in my meeting about working with women. Is that I so want them to feel safe that sometimes I come off maybe as standoffish or overly overly fatherly. I don't know. Like I just go. I don't want you to have to. Like with Nikki, I was on the road with her. I don't think I really spoke to her much. I think we went out to lunch one day. I really upset her because this is when
you have one shot.
Oh, I really upset her. There was an app called Photo Booth or Fat Booth, where you took a picture and it made the person fat.
Yeah.
And I fat boothed her face and then posted it online. Like that. And she was like, she got really upset and she goes, "You got to take that down immediately."
Yeah, I don't think she'd like that.
And I was like, "Really?" And she goes, "That's what I feel like I look like every day." And I went, in my head, I'm like, "You're beautiful. Like, why would you ever think that?" But and then I videotaped her running on the treadmill and she didn't. She was like, "Why would you do that?" But in my head, I'd do it to a comic. I'd do it to a guy. Like I never think twice to do anything to you if we were on the road.
Oh, to make it feel safer. It's like, yeah, I was in her shower. I was in her shower. Taking her.
I roofied her one night.
Yeah.
But this was when she drank too. So, but I did something shitty to Nikki the other day, and I don't know why I've done so many shitty things to Nikki, but I did something shitty to her the other day, and I texted her the next morning. I woke up. This is where you talk about getting in your head.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey, I don't know if what I did was bad or good, but I do feel shitty about it."
You just slapped her in the face.
No, I'll tell the story because I think it's that. What time do you need to be?
Oh no, I was just checking. Oh, don't worry about it. I'm sorry, that was rude.
No. This is one of my favorite Nikki Glaser stories, and what's shitty about it is I told it about her before I brought her on stage, and at the OR, and that room is so fucked sometimes that any spot
you're like Nikki's bully.
But I'm not a bully because I really love her.
Yeah.
But I do. I would do this to any dude,
right?
But you forget that, like, yeah, there are different rules for men and women. Like, just like if I tell a story about you going down on a chick before I bring you up on stage, you're like, yeah, whatever, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
The room sees me as a man. But if you do that about a woman, then everyone's like, oh, so that's how she... And I'm like, oh, I just dictated what you have to talk about for the next 15 minutes.
Right.
And the story I told, which I will tell because it is great, and I love Nikki, and I've told this story to her. She doesn't totally remember it this way, but I ran into... It's
going to get me in trouble, bro.
No. Okay. Fucking get me in trouble. Look, Michelle Wolf and Nikki, if you want to come after me, come after me. Dan is a great guy. He's been doing nothing but defending you guys. And I love you guys. I'm not fucking shitting on you guys. I think Michelle's super talented, and I think Nikki's awesome.
Yeah. The house is literally on fire right now.
We were everyone, I'm going to make sure the audio stops so that you can isolate this and post it, because this is my favorite Nikki Glaser story.
Okay.
I just ran into the DJ this happened with in Philadelphia. His name's Sludge. Brian Hadid, I think is his last name. And he was there. He remembered the story identical as I remembered it. So I am not making this up. This is a true story. We're in Richmond. Nikki's featuring for me. It's one of the 2 times I think I ever worked with her. Richmond and in Orlando. And maybe a couple times. I don't know.
2 of the greatest cities in America.
Yeah. So we go in and do radio. This is right around when MySpace was big, or Facebook had just come out, or whatever. And we're talking about that. It's back when you'd plug your MySpace handle to hope you get followers. So the topic is the quickest you've ever had sex with a person.
Yeah.
And so... Me and Sludge don't have anything good. We're both fucking dorks, but people are chiming in online, and we're reading the MySpace comments because we're trying to get followers. So I'm saying it's MySpace. I don't remember what it was exactly. So Nikki's my feature, and she's coming in to watch radio to like get a feel on radio. She goes, actually, I have a story. And we're like, oh, guys, hold on a second. Nikki Glaser is here. She's working with Bert this weekend, and she's got a story. And she goes, okay, so. I was at a bar, and I met this guy. He was at the bar. He reminded me of like my best friend's little brother, who I always kind of had a crush on, but like not like a crush, but I just had an affinity for the guy. But this guy was like he was my age, and he reminded me of something about him. So anyway, I went to the bathroom with him, and I gave him a blowjob, and they're like, whoa, hang on, and they dump out, and they're like, you cannot say that on air, and she's like, you can't. And he's like, no. She's like, how would you say that? And he's like, well, I don't know, but you cannot say that on air. Now, online is blowing the fuck up, right? It is blowing up. Everyone's like, what did you do? What did you do? Because we had to dump out of it. And now we're all getting follows on MySpace. We're like, oh, hold on 1 second. Follow us on MySpace. We're going to tell you. We're like teasing it. And Nikki goes, I can actually tell that story radio friendly. And we're like, really? And she goes, yeah. We're like, all right. So Nikki, go ahead and tell your story. She goes, so I was at a bar, and I met this guy, and something about him reminded me of my best friend's little brother, who I didn't have a crush on, but I really loved that kid. And he was, but this guy's my age, but there is something about him that reminds me of him. So I went to the bathroom with him, and I sucked his dick. So I was just like, you can't say that. You can't say that.
She's so fucking
she's
funny.
Like, but you guys are calling each other dicks the whole time. Like, you can say he's a dick. You can't say I sucked his dick. It was so
hilarious.
Funny. But the shitty thing I did.
Nikki's one of the best fucking joke writers, man.
I think she's fucking hilarious.
She's great.
But the shitty thing I did that I woke up the next day is I brought her up on stage telling that story at the OR, which I don't think she had read your story to her. It didn't bother her. But I was like, I should just do, like, if I didn't know her, I'd just go, ladies and gentlemen, Nikki Glaser. I should have just done that.
Yeah, but like for me, that's a story about her, like a funny comic fucking with radio.
Yeah,
like lame radio dudes. It's not like a story. It's not even. It's not really a sex story.
It's not a sex story. But then,
I get it. I think it's nice that you reached out.
The next morning, I woke up and I was like, I don't know if it isn't fucked up or it is fucked up. But I do love Nikki, and I don't want her to think that I disrespected her or was like I just what I think bothered me was that she then told sex jokes the whole rest of her set, and I thought,
like you set
and I
that
thought,
up.
I thought, yeah, well, what if she did want to talk about something that had nothing to do with sex?
I don't know. Like sometimes you got to realize too. It's like I have this thing too. Like we're not that powerful. You know, if anything, it was like if anything happens, mostly nobody hates you or loves you. Mostly either people like you or get that was annoying. You know, that's the extent of most interactions.
Yeah.
You know, I really only hated one or two people in the past 5 years, or like think that they're I deeply dislike a handful of people.
I don't have hate for anybody.
Yeah,
I don't have like
good.
I was someone talked to me about this guy that he was gonna have on his show that we had beef with, and he was like, I can not do it if you want, and I was like, no, I don't care at all. That guy should definitely. Like, why would you? Don't. I'll always be your friend, even if you guys shit on me for an hour. That's totally fine. Like, none of that bothers me. But I think that's also getting older, and I think getting more confident. I don't think I've ever really hated anybody. I had beef with Paul F. Tompkins, like pretty.
Oh, you guys did?
Yeah, pretty. Then what was
When
worse?
was this?
This was a long time ago.
Are you guys cool now or no?
Yeah, I'll tell you the short version. It was a misunderstanding, I think, mostly. And it happened probably 11 years ago. And I had gone on a podcast and I had talked about it, and then he had heard it, and then he had talked about it, and then and I didn't have a
Well,
dog.
you just like you talking about you don't like his act or some shit?
No. I had he had been promised an evening at the Improv that he could book, and it was his show, and the Improv put me on the show.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, they thought they needed me on the show. His understanding was his night to book, which I can understand his frustration when he gets a guy that is not his brand, or
right.
I'm more of like a bro. And I was drunk, he was drunk. Our interpretations of that night and the next night are different. But what had happened was I wasn't backing down from mine, and he wasn't backing down from his.
He thought you were superstarring him. You thought that he wasn't whelping you and being too cool for school.
Yeah, well, whatever it was. And so anyway, both of us. I mean, I don't know his extent, but I would talk very openly about not liking him, and talk very openly about my side of the story, and it got to the point where it was like. We had a run-in one time on doing Ari's podcast, and he was walking down Sunset, and I thought we'd squash the beef. He thought I was coming to, attack him on a podcast, and so he blew me off on the podcast. And then it got even worse. Like, people started really reading into it, and it got to the point where I was like, whatever, I don't give a fuck. And then when you start making money and you start really selling tickets, you're like, oh, I really he can't help me. Like, there's nothing he can do to help my career. Like, I'll never work with him, so I really don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And then so I was like, I really don't care. And then he very, very sweetly and very grown-uply, those aren't the right words, but reached out to me and said, hey man, I just want to tell you my side of the story. I don't care that we'll ever be friends, and I don't care that you like me, and I don't care, but I do think that your interpretation of it is wrong, and I'd like to hear your side of it as well. But I don't want to have beef with you. That I don't dislike you, and I hope you don't dislike me. I just would like to get past this and sincerely get to a place where we can bury the hatchet. I got the email, and I was so caught off guard. I was in a Chili's in the Chicago Mall at Schaumburg, and I read it, and I was like, "Fuck!" I sent it to my wife to be like, "Am I reading this right?" She's like, "Yeah." So I read his side. I wrote my side, and he was like, and I was like, "I'm cool." He was like, "I'm cool too," and we both kind of squashed it. And we're like,
great.
"I hope I see you around, and I'll say hi or whatever." And it felt really fucking good.
That's great,
I would have
man.
never done it, but he did it. He's more. I think he also quit drinking, so that he's also like, look, man, I don't have like me. I can just drink it away and then be like, fuck everyone, I'm right.
Yeah, keeping his side of the street queen and shit like that.
Yeah, but it was very cool. Did you ever gotten a beef with a comic?
I'm sure there's people, it's not in the forefront of my mind. I'm sure there's people I don't like, and I'm sure there's people, and it's not just comics. You work with people in some settings, and you're like, oh, this guy kind of rubs me the wrong way, or I think this person.
Do you get that in a writer's room a lot?
Sure. I mean, it's kind of like comedy, but I think like I actually think like sometimes in a writer's room it can get worse, you know, like
really.
Well, because I will not go into details on any of this stuff, but it's like, you know, and I've written for a lot of shows, so nobody can do this math here. But like imagine having to like see like with stand up, you have the luxury of being like fuck this guy, we can go on different paths. Maybe we'll be on the same lineup, but we won't see each other. If you don't like somebody in a room or at your job where it's a 9 to 5, you have to literally stay with that person all fucking day, you know?
Yeah.
So you almost have this boiling, simmering, you know? So that can be tough. I think that that kind of shit is like, you know, because it's almost like back in the, you know, like, you know, years ago, it was kind of cool to have stand-up beefs in some ways. Like, fuck this guy. No, fuck this guy. When you're working on a team together, you know, and you don't like somebody, it's like being in a bad marriage or something. It's just you know, it can be fucking really uncomfortable. So I try not to. I try to get along with everybody that I work with. Because of that, but sure, I've had people that I'm like that, you know, somebody said this to, you know, like I was talking about, you know, stressing out of the business. A good buddy of mine is a real brilliant writer. Frank Sebastiano wrote Dirty Work, and he wrote Beer League, wrote all Norm stuff on SNL.
I know who that is, yeah,
you know Frank.
Yeah, of course.
So we were like, and I was like, you know, and I felt like I was nervous about my career, and he's like, I was like, hey, is there any like fix for any of this, you know? And he goes, all right, well, you know, you got like, you have like days where you write good shit, right? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, you have days where you write bad stuff. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you have people that really like you, right? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, you probably got a couple people who don't like you or enemies or whatever. I'm like, yeah. He goes, yeah, he got it. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, yeah. He's like, I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah. He goes, yeah, this is it. So just cool, chill out, man.
So do you get writers in these rooms that aren't comics?
Well, I mean, yeah,
like
there's some stand-ups, there's some people. I mean, I've been fucking so fortunate, man. I've written with, you know, I just got on an office show where I wrote with Chuck Tatham and Dan O'Shannon and Emily Wilson and Betsy Thomas and Neil Goldman and, you know, like, Garrett, these are people that have fucking written for everything from Modern Family to Newhart to Community to fucking Frasier to, yeah, like, you know, they've written to Star Trek, like everything under the, and there's some real fucking G's. What
was that
room.
Show? Were you
it was Superior Donuts. This was just
Superior Donuts. Yeah.
And then before that, it was like I was at Not Safe, where I'm writing with fucking Frank Sebastiano and Benji, who's got now his own show on Freeform, and fucking Lizzie Cooperman and Emmy Blotnick and Jared, you know, Moskowitz, Steve Melcher, all these, you know, people who are fucking Bob Castroni, like all these people that are like all have multiple credits and are killing it, you know, being on the, you know, like the roasts where you're writing with like a bunch of, and I'm not like a roaster, I was really lucky I got to write for a week, but you work with so many people who are so great, and it also like it really kind of diminishes it really takes away your ego and pride as far as jokes. Like, joke theft for me is a big deal, but it's not as big of a deal as it used to be before I got in these rooms, because you literally see 4 people coming up with the same fucking joke independently of one another, and you're like, there's no way this was stolen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just see it. You're like, there is parallel thinking. There is parallel thinking. If the setup and the punch are the same, there's a problem. But if it's like, oh, that punch is similar, or oh, that setup's kind of different. Yeah, I mean, that setup's kind of similar. Like, we're all kind of cooking from the same soup.
Yeah.
You know, the reason that a bunch of people laugh is that, you know, a thing relates to a bunch of people. So, of course, people are going to write about what's relatable as well. So it's almost like I feel like comedy writing is almost like, you know, like they always say this about the Bill Clinton presidency, like he was just ahead of the public consciousness, and that's why he wasn't too far, you know, to the left like Crazy Nader. He wasn't like back in, you know, the Stone Age, you know, like fucking God, like what we have fucking now. But it's like it's like being just ahead, and I feel like comedy is like that too. Like, you want to be just ahead of the audience. You don't want to be so far fucking ahead that they're not going to be able to relate to you, but you don't want to like do stuff where you'll get the laugh, but then you want to take a shower afterwards, you know?
Yeah. So. Now, when you go into like Michelle Wolf's show, do you have to? I know Michelle's like a real writer as well as a great stand-up. Like, she's written for like everything. But do you have to come in this is the cool thing of like a TV show. I think you go in your first day, and do you guys create the show then, or do they have like?
Well, I'll be able to tell you next week. You know what I mean? Like every show is kind of different, and I know some of the people there, like Dan Powell, I've worked with before, and he show ran on Amy Schumer's show, and he's great, and Christine Nagel is a great writer. She's the head writer over there. So I'm really looking forward to working with some of the talent.
Are there any comics I know that are on it?
Do you know Greg Stone and Anthony DeVito?
I know. I feel like I know Anthony DeVito.
They're really good comics. And then Dwayne Perkins, I think, is right for it.
Fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I love Dwayne.
He's stand up. So there are stand-ups in there.
Awesome.
And I did Dwayne's podcast. I don't think he even knows that we're both writing on the show. But
oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you have to submit a package?
I did. I wrote a packet for it while I was writing on donuts, so it was kind of an intense week because I'm you get a 60-hour day a week for network, and then every night you're writing shit, and also my girlfriend's in town, so it was just like it was like 2 jobs plus a lady. But I always bitch to this stuff to guys with kids, and they're like, yeah dude, it's fine, you're fine.
So wait, you don't have to tell me everything about this, but like one of the most I think probably the one thing everyone that listens to this podcast, or most people would be curious about, is what goes into a writer's packet.
I mean, it's just like I always think about this is like you get the out, you've done it. You were talking about it earlier. So.
I did it, but I think they told me what they wanted.
Yeah, I think that's the same thing. They tell you what we wanted, and I find that like the jobs that I've gotten, or the jobs that I've come close to getting. It's pretty easy in some ways to write the packet. Like you kind of do it, and a lot of it's the rewriting stuff is tough because you're like, but like if you look at a packet and a bunch of ideas come out immediately, there's a good chance you should write for that show. If you're looking at a packet and you're agonizing over this packet, probably means you're not a good fit for the show. So don't fucking waste your time.
Yeah.
And I'm not telling people who are new writers or stand-ups. If you're new, fucking do it. Like do every single one you can get, because you don't know what you're not right for yet.
Yeah.
And you're probably not good yet anyway, so just keep going.
The one joke I wrote, there was this there's the only joke I really remember is there was a clip of this woman who's in a van and a little dog had bit her in the pussy. It was a long time ago. That was one of the clips they sent us. Yeah. Is what jokes would you write for this?
I found out this is like a packet for This Is Us or something. I'm like, what?
And all I remember is I was like, I actually deal with this every week when I go on the road. I spray Tabasco on my wife's pussy so that no one will mess with it. So try spraying Tabasco on your pussy, and dogs definitely won't bite it. Or if they do, they'll know not to do it again. And that was the only joke I remember writing that I was like, maybe I should save that for myself. I was like,
well, that happens a lot. I mean, I think that happens, because you're like I'll have that too. Like Michelle is a fucking terrific stand-up, what I mean? So it's like you want to like make sure that their stuff is great when you're like writing stuff for them, and because their stuff already is great. But you get like you put so much shit and work into shit, and it's harder for you to fucking. It's harder. It's just harder, man. It's harder for you.
I don't know if I could work for someone like Michelle, because she works so hard that I'd imagine she'd want you to work that hard.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, I phoned it in a lot.
I'm fucking pumped. I love it. But I think every time that you're working, whether it was this show or the show before that, and you're working a lot, you have less. You don't have as much time to come up with your own stand-up, but if it's somebody I believe in, like her or some of the other people, I don't give a fuck, man.
Some of those late night talk shows on Netflix, they're like, I've never really gotten into the talk shows on Netflix. Like the late night one. So I'm dying to see, because I'm certain.
Yeah, it's like a talk sketch show. Yeah.
Yeah, someone like Michelle's looking at it going, okay, I've seen all the other stuff. Now let's do mine.
I think she does, and I don't want to really go into the stuff that I know about the show so far, but she's a singular vision. She's a great. I say before. I mean, like her last special reminded me of, Chris Rock type of shit. So, I think she has a good idea of where she wants to go.
Yeah.
So, I mean. And as far as stand-up, like, I always wanted to, like, and I don't even know if I'm going to have that, but, like, I always think we were talking about career goals earlier. Like, I think it's, like, there's only going to be so many fucking Rolling Stones of stand-ups or Bruce Springsteens or like, fucking Dr. Dre's of stand-up. But there's, like, if you could be a Warren Zevon, that would be pretty cool.
Or Black Crows. I'll be a Black Crows. Play She Talks to Angels every
night.
Talks
to Angels. Yeah, you got a couple good tunes.
I'm cool with that.
You want, like, he did that one, too? That's kind of the career you want.
Oh, yeah. I did like that story.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind being the train of stand-up. Put on a cruise every year. Sing the hits.
I feel like,
you guys want to have a cocktail?
I feel like I can comfortably say that you're the train of stand-up.
I love it.
You got it. You guys should do a joint.
Dude, I went. We worked with them for Travel Channel for an episode, and everyone was like,
they're nice guys, right?
Well, everyone's like, it's Train, and everyone's like, yeah, whatever. And so then none of us are like big Train fans. So we buy their album and we try to play it, and everyone's like, pass. Then we meet them, and they're awesome. They're like the greatest guys.
You start playing the album again?
And they're like really cool, and they come and they eat dinner with us, and we hang, and we're like, wow, they're really fucking nice. And then they say, are you guys coming to the show tonight? And now all of us are like, all of us are like, yeah, we'll come to the show. Yeah, we'll come to the show. And they're like, cool. So now all of us are, the jaded crew is start like, and then they're like, yeah, if you guys want to come backstage or anything, we're like, oh, yeah. Backstage pass is cool. And then they get us really nice seats. And then they start playing songs, and we're like, oh, we love this song. We didn't know they played this song. And then they're like, Bert, you coming on stage? I was like, fuck yeah, you're my favorite band in the world. And then for like 2 years after, anytime we heard a Train song, all of us would be like, guys, this is our song. Dude, Train's fucking bad. And they do a cruise every year.
That's awesome.
Oh, I'd love to just I call it cutting the sleeves off your comedy, where it's like Larry Cable Guy in the Up and just going, no, I get it. I may make $5 million for my special. I'm never making $20 million that Chris Rock gets. I may never be like, no one's gonna write a expose on me in New York Times about how I've changed the social conversation in this country. But I've got a great fucking life, and I got fans, and you can sell otter boxes at my shows. Like, I'm cool with that.
Yeah,
I'd be very cool with that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'd be cool with being Angela Johnson.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I mean,
she's got the one fucking nail salon bit that murders. That's no one can deny isn't a fucking amazing bit.
Right.
She writes her own stuff. Always does a new hour at the end. Tells
you kind of are the Angela Johnson.
I will take that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I would say that.
Dude, she moved 4,000 tickets in fucking Tennessee.
Jesus Christ.
That's like, you know who else does that? By the way, Bill Burr.
Yeah,
he moves the exact same amount of tickets as Angela Johnson. Exact.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I'm very fucking cool with that. Like, and I met her, really down to earth, really cool, really sweet. Watched her do her stand up. We laughed our dicks off. We're like, she's funny as fuck. She appreciates good comedy. She's got the life. Her sister tours with her. They make some cool food in the green room, like, because they're Mexican. She made some salsa and some.
It's a great life.
Dude, it's a great fucking life. Anyone who looks at it as young and shits on that and goes, oh yeah, but she only got one. No, I don't give a fuck. Some people don't get one good joke. Some people don't get one. Lots of us don't get one good joke. I'll take one.
Yeah, I'll take one.
I'll take one. Right? Did you get into this business with like a jaded, like, did you come in like, or were you like, I'm looking to party? Like, I was looking at it
I came in and I wanted to be great, and I wanted to be like one of the cool guys and shit like that, and I wanted to be funny and successful, and now I just kind of want to be fucking happy and have a roof over my head and like
happy.
I don't want to write hack shit, in any way, but I don't need to be. The days of me wanting to be the guy are fucking over. Like that's probably not going to happen whether I wanted it to or not. But I really do enjoy writing funny shit, working with funny people,
being funny.
Yeah, and having a good woman. Living in a great city. I mean, my life is pretty fucking all right. Dude.
Look at Colin Quinn.
Great wife,
dude. Colin Quinn. Like, I don't like if I said to a bunch of millennials, you guys find this Colin Quinn, they'd be like, I don't know. Yeah. Man, let me tell you something. The greatest comic. So
funny.
Every fucking time he's funny. Every time.
I was telling when I was last there and I saw Colin, I told him like that bit about I still laugh at that bit of the family getting out of the family reunion or family, and then each each time they drop someone off, they talk shit on the other person. You know?
I haven't heard it.
Oh, it's great. And his New York story, that's so awesome. That
Dude,
did you read that book or listen to the audio from it?
No.
Oh, it's great. It's a book on tape. It's New York Story. I think it's the coloring book. I'm sorry, shit.
The coloring book?
Oh, yeah,
it's on
check that
audiobook?
out.
It's an audiobook?
Yeah, it's really great, dude.
I'm getting it right now. Hold on
Yeah,
1 second.
Coloring
I'm getting
book.
it right now. I saw him do...
I can't say enough about that fucking dude. You
For
know
real?
what I mean? Yeah. Oh, about how great he is. Yeah.
Dude, I saw him...
Oh, check it out.
He did an episode for my Travel Channel show with me.
Yeah.
And the coloring book...
Yeah. Yeah, let me know what you think of it.
A Comedian Solves Race. I'm buying it right now.
Dude, it's great.
$24.
I forget who told me about it.
Everyone, let's all buy this fucking book and raise it to the top of the charts this week.
It's great. The coloring book is great.
Let's see. I'm buying. Double click to pay. I think I did that right. Double click to play. How do I... We'll figure out this later. But yeah, he did a bit where we brought in two people that were traveling and we put an IFB. I was like, this was my brilliant idea. We'll put an IFB in the kid's ear. We'll get him up at Gotham, and then we'll have Colin tell him jokes, and then he'll repeat them, and he'll get to see what it's like to be a comic on stage. Because Colin's got jokes, and he could do like a bunch of short jokes. I'm more like a kid couldn't do what I can do. Like I don't mean that arrogant. But like I'm like I don't know if I can do what Colin can do. Right? Like I need to feel the room. I need to kind of work myself into it, and then I tell a story. It just is too hard to do. Colin can do like set a punch, and then something a little longer, set a punch. So we get the kid in an IFB.
Well, Dave Attell would be great.
Dave Attell would be perfect. We couldn't get Attell.
Yeah.
Colin was going to be doing a spot there. I ran into him outside. I said, hey, would you do this for me? And he was like, yeah. So Colin's like, I don't think it's going to work the way you think it's going to work, though. And I was like, really? And he goes, yeah, why don't we do like a practice round? We'll do it in the green room. I'll stand outside the green room. We'll put the kid in the green room, and he'll tell his jokes to you. I'll tell him in his ear. And so I was like, okay. So we do it, and Colin's got the mic, and he's like, oh, fucking look at this guy. What are you, a failed professional wrestler? Talking to me and to the kid. The kid hears it, looks at me, realizes Colin's talking about me, and starts laughing hysterically. And I go, what's he saying? He goes, I don't know. Hold on, slower, say it again. So the kid, you forget that Colin's being hilarious into the kid's ear. So all he's doing is fucking laughing. So it was a fail. So we just had the kid go up on stage, and he just bombed. But that night, Colin told a joke. I'm sure it's in one of his hours where he goes, everyone's talking about global warming. Oh, save the fucking polar bears. Let me tell you something, people. If a polar bear walked in here right now, you'd be throwing chairs at it.
He's so funny, man.
He really is fucking amazing.
So funny, dude.
God damn. So when do you go to New York?
Saturday morning. I'm excited to, live with my lady and work on this show. A lot of really funny people on it, and excited to do stand up in New York again. Hopefully, I have a little bit of time to do a little stand up. And
where are you gonna live in New York?
See my family, East Village.
East Village?
Yeah,
right by Ari. What street?
I think it's like, I forget exactly. It's in the.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just moving in where my chick is. So.
Ari's on 13th in between 1st and 2nd.
Yeah,
it's a white building. It's a white building. I think it's number 112.
Yeah, it's in the
address.
East Village. It's somewhere. You're giving the 112
Street is Ari's address. I'm pretty sure it's 113. Let me give you his phone number.
Social security number.
By the way, it's not his real address. You fucking idiots. Obviously. But yeah, he lives in the East Village. Every time I go there, I go to his house. He's got a great place, and we do like walk around the East Village. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And you're going there right for spring. That's when all the bras come off.
Oh yeah.
Do they still do that, or is the millennials wear bras?
I think they kind of. I think they kind of take it out. Every once in a while in Union Square, you'll see somebody with their tits out walking around.
Oh, tits
it's like
out.
a statement.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, it's like a political tits. Or then there's usually a guy with his dick out, but that's usually for different reasons, not political.
I do it for political reasons.
Yeah, I do it for wait, it was for political reasons.
Gun control.
When my dick's out on the subway,
Well, that's awesome, man. I can't wait. I'm excited for Michelle's show.
Thank you for having me, man.
No, and I'm sure you'll be doing Nikki's new
radio
show.
Yeah. I just talked to Nikki about that, and I have an album coming out on May 12th, so hopefully I can tweet at you guys when that comes out. But it's called No Real Winners Here, and that's going to be on 800 Pound Gorilla Records. So I'm excited for that to come out too. And I have a podcast, Total Effing Marks, on all things comedy. So
yeah, are you going to keep doing the podcast when you're in New York?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep doing the wrestling podcast, and then hopefully I'm able to do a couple things before I release the album. You know.
Yeah, well, let me know. Text me. I'll give you my number. And text me when your album comes out so that I can tweet about it. And,
thanks, dude.
And post about it and whatnot. And then keep my number in case you fall off the wagon again. Yeah, I'd be interested to see what that looks like up close and personal.
I put a headphone in your ear and you start harassing people.
Yeah, exactly. It would be great. But I appreciate you doing this.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me. I'm pumped to do it.
No, fuck yeah. Thank you.
This episode was brought to you by The Machine.